Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a fascinating, frankly mind-blowing 1400-year-old mystery. It centers around one of the oldest, most historically significant waterways on the planet, the Euphrates River. We're going to unpack a highly specific ancient text and see exactly how modern observers are mapping its warnings directly onto our world right now. So, to really grasp the scale of this, I want you to imagine, just for a second, one of the longest, most historic rivers on Earth. A river that literally witnessed the birth of the very first human civilizations. Now, imagine its waters suddenly pulling back. What if the world's oldest river is hiding a deadly trap? The source material we're digging into today describes a striking physical phenomenon, one that allegedly masks a devastating cosmic snare for humanity. According to these ancient texts, as the muddy banks of the Euphrates are exposed for the first time in millennia, something starts to glisten under the sun. It's described not just as, ancient ruins, but as a literal mountain of gold emerging from the mud. And no, this isn't framed as some fun Hollywood treasure hunt. The sources treat this as a very real, incredibly chilling warning about a final trap that marks the beginning of the end times. Section 1. The Prophecy of the Receding Waters. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the exact specifics of the prophecy. These ancient Islamic traditions, or hadith, outline a very specific sequence of events. First, the whole thing is intrinsically linked to a period of extreme famine and drought, a time where the world's resources are actively being held back. Second, as a direct result, the Euphrates River itself recedes. And third, this mountain of gold is revealed. And the texts, they are incredibly specific here. For centuries, people debated if this was merely symbolic, maybe referring to black gold like oil. But the narrations insist on literal, visible treasures, a great mountain of gold that people will see with their own physical eyes. Section 2, the lethal catch. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the fallout it describes. Because as you might guess, this suddenly uncovered wealth comes with an unimaginable cost. The prophecy doesn't just say the gold will appear, it provides a shocking, highly specific statistic. People will fight over this newly revealed gold, and out of every 100 people who engage in that battle, 99 will be killed. Let that sink in for a moment. A 1% survival rate. That is a staggering predicted casualty rate for a single conflict, making it a war where, essentially, absolutely no one truly wins. So you have to ask yourself, why would anyone in their right mind fight if the odds of dying are 99 to 1? Well, the source texts capture the exact perilous psychological mindset of the combatants with this really chilling thought. Perhaps I will be the one who survives and takes the treasure. Analysts point out that this perfectly highlights a complete spiritual collapse. It's this extreme scenario where pure greed completely overrides basic human survival instincts. The cost of victory is the destruction of almost every soul involved. Yet the allure of the gold just utterly blinds them to the math. Section 3. Modern geopolitics. And that kind of psychological blindness brings us directly to how observers today map this ancient text onto our highly volatile world right now. When you look at regional geopolitics today, the physical line of the Euphrates River passes directly through some of the most explosive conflict zones on the planet, and we can see how real-world stressors perfectly parallel these ancient warnings. Looking at regional tensions, the river is the literal center of conflict between Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, a mess involving global superpowers, local militias, and governments. Under resource scarcity, we're already seeing escalating water wars and severe flow restrictions due to modern dam projects. And on the environmental crisis front, widespread agricultural failures and the undeniable impacts of climate change perfectly mirror the prophesied times of extreme drought. Because of these incredible parallels, some analysts argue that current fires in places like Syria or rising tensions with Iran might not just be isolated geopolitical events. Instead, they might be the opening lines of the massive conflicts mentioned in these ancient revelations. In this view, the prophesied mountain of gold acts as the ultimate catalyst. It essentially becomes the final spark, pulling the entire world into a conflict that benefits absolutely no one except arms dealers and elites, while innocent people are basically piled up as sacrifices. Section 4. The ultimate test. So the crucial point is how the source material actually tells individuals to react to this seemingly inescapable event. The prophecy comes with an explicit and, frankly, chilling command from the prophet for anyone who happens to be alive when this mountain of gold appears. The instruction is simple, but incredibly difficult. Whoever is present at that time should not take anything from it. Just imagine the immense psychological difficulty of that command. It's framed as a profound test of self-control. I mean, in a time of extreme hunger, global drought, and total chaos, a mountain of free gold would look exactly like salvation. But the text warns that, in reality, it's a trap designed to lead humanity toward total self-destruction. To really understand exactly why someone must just walk away, we have to look at the concept of Wahn. The sources define this as the love of the world, or the dunya, and the fear of death. The mountain of gold basically acts as a massive spiritual filter. It's designed to separate those who possess Taqwa, meaning they trust in divine provision and remain detached from worldly allure, from those who are entirely consumed by this destructive inner greed known as Wahn. And this brilliantly illustrates the core moral takeaway from the source material. It presents a really stark contrast between the mountain of gold, which represents greed, division, and fatal moral compromise, versus human life, which requires faith, detachment, and a focus on true survival. The text suggests that the absolute greatest danger to humanity isn't always some external army. Actually, it's the greed and division festering right within our own hearts. Faith and morality aren't usually lost in one massive attack, right? They're eroded through small, daily compromises that eventually lead us to value material wealth way more than human life itself. Which leaves us with a powerful question to reflect on. Even before any literal rivers run dry, what are the sparkling traps in your own life today? How often do we let the pursuit of temporary success override our core values, our faith, and honestly, our common sense? It is a timeless warning from a 1,400-year-old text that challenges our everyday choices. Thanks for joining this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder how this ancient map reflects the modern traps in your own world.